Hello everybody, how's it going? Ben Gothard here with another Project Egg interview, and today we are talking with Brendan Mace from Canada. How you doing today, Brendan?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show, dude.
Absolutely, man. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. So, I want to start off by asking you the first question, which is, what is your story?
My story. Okay, how much time do you have? I worked a lot of crappy jobs, and by job I mean just over broke for a long time. And then I went to university, which a lot of people talk about scams and internet marketing, but I think that university could be right up there in terms of people paying, six figures for an education and then not being guaranteed a job afterwards. But I went to school for many years. I actually became a teacher, a high school teacher, which not a lot of people know about. And I was building my business on the side when I came home from school, from the workday. And then eventually my business took off where I was making more money from my online business than I was from teaching. And then I kind of tried to transfer my skills because I actually do enjoy teaching with people. So I tried to transfer my teaching skills to the internet marketing community. And that's why my YouTube channel, my blog, I have lots of tutorials where I'm teaching people different things. And what I found is that there's not a lot of people giving out value for free when it comes to our industry, which is a big reason why I think I actually got some traction in growing an audience, is because most people demand money first. But if you give stuff free first, you can build a relationship and then you can ask for money later. It's a very Gary Vaynerchuk kind of style. Thank you economy, give, take, or whatever. So that's pretty much it. And then I started going traveling. And then as soon as I started going traveling, I was like, you know what? I don't really want to be tied in or obligated to a job anymore. So that's where I just basically took off and decided to run with this. And now today, this is what I do full time. I make around 15,000, 20,000 per month, and I travel around the world.
That is awesome. That is so cool, Brendan. So I want to dive a little bit into your history. So you said at first that you were doing some crappy jobs, just over broke. But I want to talk before that. What sort of childhood did you have? Where did you grow up?
Well, okay. So if we're gonna get a little bit personal, but I like it. Small town in Canada. And actually, I would say that I had a pretty good child that I really was very competitive always growing up. So I always wanted to win at everything. And that kind of carried over to business, because when it came to business, I think you need to have that kind of perfectionist. It's weird because I think in the sense you need to actually execute and ship things. Because I watched an interview with Neil Patel or whatever, and he's very, very successful internet marketer. And they were saying, like, what are you best at? Like, why are you successful? And he said, well, there's tons of people that are smarter than me. But the one thing that I do is I just execute, right? And I think that's so important, is to just actually get stuff out there. But then at the same time, you actually have to care about the quality of what you put out there at the same time. So I think there's a kind of a fine balance stuff there of like just getting stuff out and then actually making sure that you make it better and better and better. So with my childhood, I was actually probably bullied a little bit. Made fun of a little bit, but it really made me harden. It made me a lot stronger. It made me want to come back. And so years later, when I go to my high school reunion, I could be like, hey guys, what's up? And I think a little bit of that drive is a good thing, to want to actually show to people that, hey, I can do this and I can crush it and whatever. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's something that you need, right? I think if you look into a lot of stories of entrepreneurs in their childhood, that's what you're going to find, is some kind of driving force, some kind of reason that they have to basically want to prove to the world that they can make something of themselves, right?
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about that competitive edge that you mentioned. So, some entrepreneurs, they're born with it, and some people they're born with it. They're natural competitors. I'm the same way. I always try to compete on pretty much everything. But for somebody who doesn't have that fire in their belly, doesn't have that spark, what advice can you give them in order to harness that within themselves and develop it?
That's a really good question. And I don't know if everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur, as harsh of a thing as that is to say. But if you don't have a fire to do better and compete and have the best product in the marketplace or whatever, I really don't see a good like road ahead for you, honestly, because the way that this game kind of works is if you're creating a YouTube channel, or you're creating a blog, or you're creating an online e-com store or whatever, you have to have something really high quality. Otherwise, you're not going to get any significant results. So you definitely need to get that in you. And I mean, I've seen, I guess some people can build that or conjure that up a little bit, but I think for the most part, it is kind of innate. Like you either do have it or you don't. I haven't really seen that many people that don't have a fire. They're kind of like a deadbeat or stoner, and then they turn it all around, and all of a sudden they're super, super ambitious. I mean, I guess if you could cut out certain activities if you want to take things seriously for a while. Like if you wanted to remove, like if you smoke weed or something like that, or you drink alcohol a lot, you can take things more seriously, cut things out of your life, and then become more focused. That could help a little bit. But other than that, I think a lot of it is just innate. When I was this is a short story, but when I was 4 or 5 years old, I was at my grandma's house, and I grew up with everyone was older than me, my sister and all my cousins and everything. They're all like 3 years older. So they were all swimming in the pool. And I had never swam before in my life, but it killed me that everyone else was swimming and I couldn't. So I had never swam before, but I jumped into the pool and like within seconds just like plummeted to the bottom. And thankfully my mom was nearby, so she was like jumped in fully clothed, had to get me out of there. Like it was incredibly dangerous, but that was just it for me. Is everyone swimming, I want to be able to do it, and I want to be able to do it better, even if I have to drown to do it, kind of a thing, you know?
Wow, that is sheer persistence and competition right there, man. That's awesome. So, I want to talk a little bit about the quality versus quantity debate, because, you talked about how quality is so important, but at the same time, if we don't have enough quantity of content or products or information out there, then it's hard to reach a big audience. So which one would you go for, and how would you approach the quality versus quantity conundrum, if you will?
Very good question. I think when most people get this question, they're going to say quality, right? Like that's the obvious answer that people think. I actually think it's quantity. And I actually spent a couple weeks ago, I was in Vegas with King Human. This is something I haven't actually brought up yet, but I'm going to be talking to my audience pretty quickly. Is me and King Human are actually going to be putting on conferences in Vegas. It's going to be pay to enter kind of a thing. There's a limited amount of seats. The conferences are like 10 to 12 seats. They're going to fill up really fast. I don't even know if there's any left, because I know that King Human alone like will fill up those, obviously. But when I was with him in Vegas, what I learned from King Human is he's got 130,000 YouTube subscribers, huge following. This dude is crazy. Like he does affiliate promotions. He sends out one email and he delivers like 400 sales. Like it's just ridiculous because he has all this organic traffic and this huge tribe. And when I was with him in Vegas, he was doing YouTube live for the first time and he had never done it before. And he's an old guy, so sometimes he has like doesn't get the technology as much as us young folk. I still call myself young, even though whatever. And he basically did it where it went, what's it called? Portrait and landscape mode. He did it in portrait mode when he meant to do it in landscape mode. So what he ended up having was a final video with a strip in the middle with him talking sideways. And it was broadcasted to his whole YouTube channel. And I was like, dude, you're crazy, man. You got to take that down. He's like, I'm not going to take that down. And he was basically just like, the more content, the better. Content can never hurt you. And if anything, it shows a human side of you. Like you can make mistakes too. So I think that both are important, quality and quantity. But I think quantity is far more important, because you're just going to get, if you don't have the quantity, if you're not regularly touching base with your audience, you're just going to get forgotten, right? So both are important, but definitely getting yourself out there as much as you possibly can is probably one of the most important things that you can do.
Absolutely. And I think just for the people listening, that if you are struggling with quality in the beginning, that's okay. Just push through, and if you just keep up with the quantity, eventually you will develop the quality, right? Because you'll learn how to do it, and you'll just get better at it. So you also talked about execution. And you talked about how, I believe it was Neil Patel was saying how there are tons of people smarter than him, but he always executes. So can you give some actionable advice on how people can improve their execution game, how people can make sure to execute as much as possible?
I think you need to have some Jedi mind tricks and not let the fear of getting yourself out there inhibit you. And I think that's the main challenge. There's a lot of people that have done talks on this. Seth Godin has done a very popular video called Quieting the Lizard Brain. It's a great video that everybody should watch. But the idea that he goes in that video is that as soon as you have this lizard brain, which is in other words known, the scientific term is the amygdala. It's designed to keep you safe. So anytime you're in a situation where you're going to put yourself in danger, you're going to put yourself out there, whatever, it acts up and tells you like, no, 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 like this could hurt you kind of a thing. And it was important for human evolution because it keeps you safe, right? But the problem with it is in today's age with entrepreneurship is anytime someone's about to launch something or do something, they have this amygdala act up like, I can't do that. People are going to make fun of it. People are going to not like it. It's going to be embarrassing, all that kind of stuff. The best thing you can do is figure out how you can just diminish that fear, whatever you got to do that. I don't even, as weird as it sounds, if I create like a YouTube video or I launch a course or I'm filming some kind of video, I just pretend, I somehow convince my mind that nobody is watching me, which is weird because if I was talking in front of a bunch of people, I could be nervous. And when you're doing a video, really lots of people are going to see it, but somehow you have to convince yourself that it's just like you're just talking to the camera, you're just talking to your friend. I like to pretend that I'm talking to one of my buddies in a bar or something like that. And then I have that fear go away because I think the main problem in terms of executing is people's fear of it being out there. I think that's the main reason why they can't do it. So that would be my main advice.
Awesome. That's great advice, man. So, I want to talk a little bit about that time when you kind of moved from your childhood into those crappy jobs. Can you give a little bit of insight on what you did and what you learned, if anything, from that time?
I actually, in a weird way, didn't hate the crappy jobs at the time because it was the time of life that I was in. But I think that you get to a certain age in your life where you just don't want that life anymore. When I was doing those crappy jobs, I was like a server, actually like a bartender and stuff like that. And I actually enjoyed it for the time, but I didn't really have the reality check of having bills to pay or family to provide for, or any of the real kind of like adult responsibilities that come. And if those aren't hitting you now, they will hit you eventually. So it's something you have to be prepared for. So I worked a lot of crappy jobs. I kind of enjoyed the crappy jobs, as weird as that sounds. And then I got to a point where I just really didn't enjoy it anymore. And I really needed a way out. And my way out, as much as I hate to say it, was kind of the safe route of the way I looked at it is I'll go to university, do what you're told, like, do what you're taught, or like do what you're told, which is kind of like conditioned, being a battery in the matrix. But go to university, get an education, get a good job, be comfortable, have a comfortable amount of money. And fortunately, I was working on my business on the side while that happened, so it paid off for me. And I'm really glad that it did, because if I would have continued the path that I was going on, I would have been in a massive amount of university debt, and I would have been working in a job just designed to pay off that debt and making like just enough to pay my bills. And eventually, when I was much older, I'd have a little bit of money to do the things that I actually wanted to do, right? So I think the crappy jobs are good for a short period of time, but you should always have your eyes on the prize. You should always have your eyes on what bigger, what better thing am I building towards, right? Because, anyways, sorry, yeah. I get people all the time that, I kind of forget what I was going to say. I get people all the time that are like either satisfied with making a little bit of money, or they get into that kind of plateau or that rut or whatever. And, anyways, it'll come back to me. I had something in mind, but I'll get back to it later. I'm sure I'll think of it.
Okay. So, I want to talk a little bit about your time at university, and specifically, I want to talk about your opinion on whether it's worth it for people to go to, because I believe earlier you said that it was kind of a scam. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your opinion on that.
Okay, so I kind of think it's a scam in the fact that you literally, in terms of like what you what you empirically get out of it is not that great, but what you can get out of it conceptually and habitually can be very fantastic. It's kind of like when somebody buys coaching and internet marketing for like $10,000 from a guru or whatever, and they don't really learn anything important, but because they invested in themselves and because they spent a lot of money, now they go on and they become successful. And I've heard these stories before with people that I'll talk to, and they say, oh yeah, I paid that guy $10,000. He didn't teach me anything, but they're now killing it and they're making $10,000 a month, right? And it's kind of like it didn't actually give them the exact step-by-step blueprint that they needed, but it caused them to be emotionally invested and actually take action and do things and execute, which is what we were talking about. So when it comes to university, I think like when I got my university degree, the first one, it was a major in sociology. I was looking up on Google because I wanted to know like what comfortable job can I get with this, right? Because I got my university degree now. And the number one result that I found was with a sociology degree, the best thing you can do is frame it on the wall, because they're basically saying there are no good jobs for just this one degree, right? And so it's kind of like the education in itself, everything that I paid into it, the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars, $10,000 per year. So it's not even as expensive as a lot of other places out there. But that $10,000 per year didn't really give me a product in return that was worth the money that I spent into it. However, at the same time, when you do go to university, you have to learn to work with people. You develop thinking skills. You have these challenges that you have to overcome. So it kind of sets you up in an environment where you're doing these kind of like you're practicing for the real world, right? So I don't think that you get out of it what you pay in a literal sense, but in the sense of it's actually forcing you to do something, to work with people, to overcome challenges, to complete tasks, to have deadlines, to finish things. It can be very valuable. I know, as much as I hate to admit it, university helped me a lot, even though I didn't actually use it for my final end goal career. Literally, the skills that I developed from it definitely helped.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I want to talk about how you were building your business on the side of all these things. So when did you first start your side hustle, and what did you do exactly?
So it actually wasn't that complicated for me. When I first started, it was actually a while ago, like 8 years ago, and they had these niche websites where it was basically keyword based. And this is so dated back in the day, where you just have a domain that would be the specific keyword, and it would rank on Google because Google gave an extra weighting if you had the keyword in the domain name or whatever. So back when I started, people would set up like one-page websites specifically like with the keyword that they wanted to rank for, and they would make a ton of money. So there'd be people that have like 100, 200, 300 niche sites, like all one-page sites ranking for all these keywords and making all this money. I started with that, and then eventually Google came in with the algorithm update that just like the first one I think was Panda or whatever it was, and it just wiped all of that out. So only the quality sites kind of maintained, and all of the low quality stuff got lost. And what I was making good money before that, but what I learned from that experience is that the way that this internet is shifting is that it's shifting towards surfacing quality on the top. Right, it's filtering out the crap. All these like get rich quick kind of mentality products or websites or whatever, they're going to be gone. So I kind of realized that the way forward was to actually create something that people wanted to use, and that's when I went into YouTube. And I just went around in the industry, and what I found is there's a lot of helpful videos on YouTube for almost every single industry you can think of. Like if you want to learn how to braid hair, if you want to learn how to play a guitar or whatever. But there was like not really that much valuable, like transparent tutorials when it came to internet marketing, because internet marketers typically have that mindset of like, I don't want to show them too much. I want to make them pay first. And I was like, well, here's a huge opportunity. I could just show everything that I know, and I will separate myself from the majority of the market because very few other people are actually just giving the goods or whatever. So I just went on my YouTube channel, and every week I'd create a new YouTube video, and I'd be like, hey, in this video, I'm going to show you what I learned about Pinterest, how to get traffic from Pinterest. And the next week I'd be like, oh, here's how I got traffic from Twitter or whatever. But it would actually be like over the shoulder screen capture. This is everything that I know. This is everything that I'm doing. And that's where my tribe all came from. And then I kept on building and building and building. And I didn't even have that kind of like very focused goal of I'm going to be rich with this one day. It honestly just kind of happened. One day I would like, all of a sudden it gradually built and gradually built. And then I was like, whoa, man, like I just reached 10,000 subscribers and then 20,000 subscribers. And I'm like, that's a lot of people. And then now like today it's like 40,000 subscribers. And then eventually I kind of saw my income climbing and climbing and climbing. And then when I looked at my pay stub versus my my online income, as soon as it kind of got the same, I was like, well, now I'm going to go traveling. And then as soon as I got traveling, I got the sweet taste of freedom. And then once you get the sweet taste of freedom, you just can't go back.
Wow, that is incredible. So, I want to really dig into the journey up, because I think, like you were saying, there's so many success stories and people are like, oh, I got this and I got that and I did this, but there's again a lack of transparency on exactly how. So when you were saying that you were sharing your knowledge, right? Would you go and learn something, try it, and share it? And
exactly, yeah.
So maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. Of why did you decide to try those things, and exactly how did you share that? What was really the Brendan Mace unique approach to that?
Well, I did like testing things. So I would go out and I would see different trainings on something. So it would say like, here's how you get traffic with Twitter. And I'd read all these Google articles and these YouTube videos or whatever. And then I'd go out and I'd test it for myself. And then with all the information that I compiled, I would try and see if there was an idea that I could have that could make this even better. So I said, oh, I like the way he did that. I like the way he did that. I wonder if I added this and added this and added my own bit in here, if this would be even better. And then I would actually test it out. And if I got the results that I wanted, then I would create a YouTube video and be like, okay, guys, here's what I did. Here's the results that I got. Here's like, if you do this, you can expect kind of similar results. And that's basically how it all started. I know that I watched, there's like a course with Alex Jeffries back in the day, and he was talking about launching courses, which is kind of similar to YouTube videos because they're just paid videos. And he said the reality is you can't copyright an idea. Like nobody can copyright an idea. All of the stuff has all been done before. There's different ways of repackaging it or whatever. But you definitely can copyright. You can't steal someone's brand. You can't steal someone's title. You can't steal someone's packaging. But the ideas, you can learn, you can execute them, and then you can put your own name on them. So that's kind of what I learned with my YouTube videos is I tried to learn as much as I could. I learned from everybody, and then I implemented what I learned. And then after I got like what I thought was what made the most sense to me, then I would just share it with everybody.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you said that if you took those things and you synthesized, added your own touch, and you got the result that you were looking for, you would share it. What about on the flip side? If it didn't work out how you thought, how would you approach that? Like, would you show the successes and the failure?
I don't think I have any videos on my YouTube channel where I say, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. I don't think that's not necessarily a bad idea. That could be something kind of interesting. Hey, I know a lot of people are teaching you this, but I'm going to go in and show you that really doesn't work. I mean, sometimes I'll get like a little results from something, and then I'll say on my YouTube channel, like, hey, this is not going to be life-changing income, but if you do this, these are the kind of results that I got, kind of a thing. I like that. I think I was creating one video a week. So in terms of like the biggest impact to my brand, I thought that sharing something that does work would have more of an impact than like sharing a YouTube video and say, hey, like this right here doesn't work. And especially because YouTube, a lot of it's based on how long you can get people to watch videos. So it's like the problem with creating a video, I think that's saying like, hey, I did this, it doesn't really work, is that after they hear that in the first few seconds, it's like, click, okay, I'm not going to do that. Thanks for telling me. Boom, I'm going. But yeah, that's yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I want to thank you so much for being so transparent. I think it is really powerful when we share, the things that are actually going on, and so I want to thank you for that. But I want to talk about how you were talking about transferring your skills to internet marketing from teaching, right?
Yeah.
What skills do you think were most important that you did transfer from your teaching career into your internet marketing career?
Well, I got a good amount of practice, I guess, at telling people how to do something and then seeing how they responded and what worked and what didn't work. I really like the modeling style, so showing people like, okay, here's how I do it, and then giving them kind of like do this, do this, do this, like the step-by-step style. I think in that respect, I've always liked teaching, and I really enjoyed teaching. And yeah, I mean, I learned a bit from it. It was kind of my practice, kind of like polishing up my teaching moves before I got into the internet marketing space. But I know like a couple things that I did in teaching, like if you just tell people about something, but you don't tell them to take action or implement it or do the steps or whatever, then nobody's really going to get any results with it. Even the education program, like people say like read this textbook and then put in the answers or whatever, but it's like actually getting people to do something that's going to get them results and them learning and stuff like that. So as much as I can, I try and get people to like, okay, now your turn. Like, this is what I did. Here's what you have to do. Step 1, go to this website, do this. Because it's like getting that engagement is so huge when it comes to education. So there's a few things probably that learning how to educate definitely helps a bit, but I don't think that would really hold anybody back. I think a lot of this stuff is just common sense. Like, I think that you can just see at people that teach things really well and kind of model the things that they do to get results from their students.
Absolutely. So, I want to talk a little bit about how you made your money on YouTube, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because just using AdSense, if you're not bringing in just hundreds of thousands of views, it's kind of difficult to build a very sustainable business off of that. So maybe you could talk about some of the ways that you have monetized YouTube successfully.
Absolutely. So it's all about the back end. Like I can say approximately I make about $1,000 from AdSense per month from the YouTube video. It's really not that much. It's barely anything. King Human, who we were talking about earlier, he makes about $3,000 or something like that. I don't know. He says he doesn't really pay attention to it because the amount that he makes because of his YouTube channel, but not directly from his YouTube channel, is way, way more. Like King Human promoted one of my products. He sent out an email and delivered 300 sales, and I would say maybe like 6,000 or 7,000 revenue. So this is a guy that can go to his computer. He can write an email in 5 to 10 minutes and make $7,000 in revenue, right? And that's largely because of his YouTube channel. Now, the AdSense on his YouTube channel makes him barely anything. It makes him $100 a day. But it's like he can make $7,000 in 15 minutes, $100 a day in AdSense. Obviously, it's what you get off of YouTube that's really important. So in terms of monetization, I don't actually make, like I said, I make around $1,000 in AdSense revenue. But the reason why my YouTube channel really helps me is more for the positioning, for the authority kind of a thing, because people like to buy from people that they trust. And when you can say like, hey, I have this following or whatever, and then people get on your email list and you promote stuff to them, then it's like they care more about what you have to say. So it's about getting that. And you don't necessarily have to have a huge following or a huge authority to get those kind of results. People just need to feel like you're a real human. And I always use the example of Mike from Maine as a guy in our space or whatever. He did income reports like transparently when he was making like no money. Like he'd have months where he had like $- or like, here's a month I worked all month and I made $50 or whatever, right? But it built an audience. Like he makes a ton of money. He's huge in this space. I think he makes like 30 or 40,000 a month or something like that. But he started with like, here's what I'm doing, here are the results, and they were bad results, but people still resonated with it because it was like a real person. They listened to what he had to say because they liked him, they trusted him, he was being transparent. So you can get authority or positioning in different ways, but you definitely want to have influence with your people, with your tribe. You don't want to be a John Doe or somebody, Rob Knight, or some random kind of name that they have no emotional attachment to. So for me, my YouTube channel makes me money in the fact that like, oh, I know that guy, he's from YouTube. And then they read my email and then, oh, he's recommending this. And that's really where my money comes from YouTube. It's not really on YouTube, it's off YouTube, if that makes sense.
So yeah, absolutely. That definitely makes sense. So you get the traffic and the authority from YouTube, and then you convert those people to subscribers on your email list, and then you sell to the email list, right? That's basically the chain.
I should do that. I don't really get, I haven't really gotten people off of YouTube to my email list yet, which is a really good idea. Do it. Don't do as I do as I say. That's definitely a good idea. The way I do it is I build up an email list separately because, like I said, I do all these methods and then I share on my YouTube channel what I'm doing, and I send people from my email list to my YouTube channel. So a big reason why my YouTube channel kind of grew was because I was sending my paid traffic and my email list to my channel to grow, to build it up. But by doing that, people can see my face, people can see me talk, people can hear me talking. So it's kind of you want to connect. You want people to see your personal side in one way or another, and video is one of the best ways that you can do that. Some people just don't like doing video, and you can get that personal connection other ways. I think it's going to be harder. I think video is so easy to get that personal connection. If people can hear you and see you and everything, then they can't not connect with you in some way, right? So that's the way I've done it. Is I have a huge follow-up. Like my follow-up series is like 260 emails because every time I write an email to my list, I just add it to my follow-up series because it doesn't take me any time to just like duplicate it, add it to the series. And a lot of my emails are my videos. So when somebody subscribes to my email list, they get sent to my YouTube channel, my blog, and everything over and over and over again. And then I have promotions in between throughout the entire series. So yeah, that's basically what I do is I use my YouTube channel to get my face in front of my people.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And again, I want to thank you so much for providing so much value. That is awesome. That's incredible. So, we talked a little bit about what you have been doing in the past, but I want to talk about your travels because, I think traveling and freedom is something that is so powerful for entrepreneurs. So, can you talk a little bit about where you've gone and some of the cool things that you've experienced in that time?
Sure. So my favorite place, what I tell everybody, is Metairie, Colombia. I almost don't want to reveal that because it's like a hidden gem right now. People that watch Narcos, they see Pablo Escobar that kind of day. That was like 10 years ago. It was one of the most dangerous places on the planet. But now it's completely safe and no tourists go there, which is stupid. It's my favorite place I've ever been to. I started there and I actually lived there for 9 months. And then I went off to Thailand, and I went off to Vietnam, and I went off to Cambodia and Bali and Italy and Portugal and Rome, Berlin, Panama. It's just like, I went everywhere. But it's cool. I mean, I did it. I think that you don't need as much money as most people think that you need to be able to do the traveling lifestyle. Because if you're living at home like me as a Canadian or an American, if you are renting, like I have my own property, but if you are renting, then that's going to be like $1,000 per month. Well, there's lots of areas in Thailand where you can sleep for $20, $25 per night or $30 per night or whatever, which is the same amount that your rent would cost anyways. And the food is cheaper. So really, I could live cheaper in Thailand than I could in Canada easily just by going from like, not really hotel, but like going from accommodation to accommodation. I could still live cheaper in a lot of these areas of the world. So there's a guy that wrote a book called Traveling the World on $50 per day. And he basically went to pretty much like every country in the world. And his average cost per day was $50. That means some places are going to be more expensive than others. Places in Europe are going to be expensive. Southeast Asia is going to be cheaper, but it averaged out to be $50. That's $1,500 per month, right? $1,500 per month in business is very easy to get to. So freedom is a lot more attainable than people realize that it is, I think.
I agree with that completely. I agree with that 100%. So, for the beginning entrepreneur who, they're hearing all this and they're like, oh my goodness, I need to get out and I need to travel. I need to, start a YouTube channel and start a blog and get an email list and start selling products. What would you advise in order to start? How do you get to that $1,500 per month to where you can go and travel and you are free?
I think the easiest way is with paid traffic, honestly. I listened to Russell Brunson say one thing one day where he was just like, which made a lot of sense to me. He just said, hey, if you can make $2 for every $1 you spend on traffic, you can have as much traffic as you want. It's a very simple concept. If you can make a positive return on investment, you can just scale up and get as much traffic as you want. So the organic way is not guaranteed. It's really hard. All the power to you if you want to like build a YouTube channel from scratch and a blog, and you should be doing that anyways. But I don't know if you should necessarily rely on that. The most reliable thing you could do is learn how to print money from paid traffic. So I have an email system in place, basically where people go to a page and they get on my email list. And then I send them offers and this whole email series and stuff. And I'm able to spend like $1 on advertising or whatever. And for every dollar I spend on advertising, I make more than that dollar back. Once you have that traffic, basically you want to build a tribe. So once you have that traffic, it's easy to make money. You can make money with whatever you want. If you want to send them to a YouTube channel, if you want to send them to just offers, if you want to send them to product reviews, if you want to send them to e-commerce, it doesn't really matter. If you have that traffic, you basically have license to print money whenever you want, traffic on tap. So if I was getting started, I would figure out the one thing that everybody wants to figure out, which is traffic. And there's actually a lot of make money opportunities that work really well at kind of advertising it as this is everything you need except for traffic. And I think it's a brilliant marketing pitch because traffic is the one thing that you really need. It's almost like none of that other stuff matters except for the traffic because you can figure it out from there. So that's what I would say is figure out how to get traffic and be focused on one thing until you give it your go on one thing. And if it doesn't work out, then move on to something else, but give it a full go on one thing at a time to get those results before you move on. I always tell people it's better to work vertically than horizontally. So if you put in a medium amount of work on a bunch of different things, you're never going to break free. You're always going to get to mediocrity in each case, right? But if you put all of your effort into one thing, that's where you're going to be able to stand out. So it's just about building vertically instead of building outwards.
That's awesome. That's great advice. So, I do still think that there's kind of a struggle there, right? Because for the first time entrepreneur, they may be thinking, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I can get traffic on Facebook, or I could probably go type something in on Google. But once you are sending traffic, where do you send it to? What do you sell your own products? Do you sell somebody else's products? How do you make sure that the dollar you're spending on advertising turns into at least $1 of revenue?
Yeah. That's a good question. And that's really the whole puzzle, the whole secret sauce that you need to figure out. And I think the way I do is with a funnel. A lot of people call it a funnel. And that's basically you have a front end system in place, and then you have a back end system in place too. And if I was talking about my own funnel, so I can only share my example, I guess, because there's a million different ways to do it. But the way I do it is I buy traffic, and then I take them to a page where they give me their email address first. And that's one of the first mistakes because people will send that traffic just directly to an offer. Now, when you do that, you're giving yourself one chance to make one sale one time, and then that traffic's gone forever. But if you build it into a lead capture page or a YouTube audience or a blog or whatever first, then you're maintaining that traffic and you can make many, many sales over time. You can make a sale a day. You're giving yourself a chance to make 365 sales a year, right? So first off, I get the actual tribe, the actual audience maintained into my list or whatever. Then I send them to one of my offers. It doesn't have to be my offer. When I started out, I used someone else's offer. I send them to one of my offers to make some money back right away, okay? And then basically after that, then now I have now I have this person in my tribe. Now I can make sales over time. I need to make back the rest of the money and profit on the back end. If we're going to get really technical, basically I can buy solo ad traffic for like 30 cents. and I have a lead capture page that converts at around 50%. So that means that it takes 2 visitors to equal 1 subscriber, which means that my subscriber cost is about 60 cents. So I already know, basically the 2 things I need to know is, what does an average subscriber cost me to get into my tribe? What is the lifetime value average of each of my subscribers? So I know my lifetime, or I know my subscriber cost to get a subscriber is 60 cents. I just need to be able to make that back. My first offer right now, what we're using is copy paste paydays, is already running on a profit on that initial thing. So the way I do it is actually very easy, because I get my subscriber cost for 60 cents. I make that 60 cents back right away. And then everything that I make on the back end is pure profit.
That is awesome. That is so cool. And you know, Brandon, again, I want to thank you so much for all the value that you're providing, because I think for a lot of entrepreneurs that, you know, they may be struggling, they may be hustling, and nothing's really working. And you know, for a lot of people, they're kind of just sitting there like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Like, what is actually going on? So for you to just come in and just lay it down and tell people like that, that is awesome, man. So I want to thank you so much for that value. Now I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing now, right? I want to talk a little bit about, or a lot of bit about, your biggest focus at this point in time.
My biggest focus is, I've actually 2 things. So I want to build up my YouTube channel more, which I have to go back to and build more YouTube videos, because any of those organic traffic platforms, once you get it going, it's like the snowball is going. You want to keep the momentum kind of rising there. So that's one thing that I definitely want to work on. And I also want to work on the back end. What I'm doing now is I have these product launches. So about once a month right now, I'm launching a course where I give people all the information on a particular make money online thing. So whether that's list building or how to make money on YouTube or whatever, like I create a course around that one subject, and then I launch it and get a certain amount of sales, a certain amount of buyers into my list and everything like that. There's lots of ways that you can make money with that. That could be a whole course in and of itself. And then basically after that, the people that make lots of money with this stuff, and lots of money just online in general in pretty much any industry, have a very effective back end to their funnels. So once they get the buyers in somehow, like a lot of people use these launches to get buyers into their email list, into their Aweber. Once you have these buyers, how much money you make is going to be largely determined by what you're doing after you get them. So my main focus right now is, me and my business partner, Dalton Scott, are putting together a really effective high ticket training, which we've never done before. Usually we launch courses for like $10, which give you a good crash course into every kind of business method that we're teaching. This one that we're launching is going to be like $2,000, so it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to have absolutely everything that people need. It's going to have like basically the way we're going to set it up is that we have a landing page that we're going to create for them that's designed to convert at a high rate. And then we have it hard coded so that when they send visitors to this landing page, it's going to send emails to all of our offers at 100% commissions, as if it's their offer, for months upon months upon months, hard coded with their affiliate link. And we've got lots of other stuff that we're doing in this as well. So it's basically one of those things, as if you buy this, you're basically able to just like press the on button and print money. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. We want to make sure that it works, and that's what our main project. And then we also have the recurring. I'm a huge fan of Alex Becker. He's also a fellow YouTuber that's killing it, and he makes money in a lot of different ways. And I've seen one of his videos where he actually, I highly recommend his channel. He has some videos where he talks about his back end, and he shows like the money that he makes from this. And he's like, one of the things he showed was this like free book plus shipping model or whatever, which like Russell Brunson's doing these days and stuff like that. And he said you can take a loss on the front end. So he could say you give away the free book or whatever, and he's kind of negating his costs with the shipping and handling anyways. But you give away the book, even if you take a loss, as long as you have your back end in place. And then he went through his back end, and he has like a recurring product, which is like a certain amount per month. And then he has a high ticket product, and he has this product. So it's like, even though I'm taking a loss, I'm getting all these customers, and a certain percentage are going to get this, a certain percentage are going to get this. And then when you do the income numbers, you see that you're making way more than your initial expenditure because of all that back end that you have set up. So our main priority, to answer your question anyways, is going to be making the best possible back end that we can. So we have the copy paste paydays, which we highly recommend right now, which is a recurring service. And then now we're working on the back end, which is going to be as best as we can, just get people to be able to press that on switch.
That is cool. That is really cool, man. So, besides your professional life right now, what's going on in your personal life? Like, what's your biggest focus going on for Brendan?
I mean, I actually think I'm lazier than most people expect me to be. I live life, man. I go to the beach and I go out with girls every once in a while, and I have drinks, and I have fun. I go to the bar. A couple nights ago, I was in karaoke and I was singing Backstreet Boys with some girl that I'm kind of digging right now and stuff. And anytime I'm always looking at flight tickets. King Human is always like talking me into going to Vegas. He's in Vegas all the time. And so I'm going to be going there pretty quick for our conference that we're throwing together. I do business when I have to, but I don't really, once you get momentum and moving with this, you don't need to spend a ton of time on your business. A lot of the stuff is the point is to make it a lifestyle business and have you running the business, not the business running you, right? So most of the time I just have fun, to be honest.
That is super cool, man. That is so cool. So, we talked a little bit about your past, and we talked about what you're working on now. Talked a little bit about the personal side, but where do you see yourself going in the future? What does the future hold for Captain Mace?
Oh man, that's a good question. It's as weird as it sounds. This is going to sound weird to a lot of people. Is I have two kind of ideas in my head, and they might be idealistic, but I've considered going back to teaching with my business on the side, because I'm making more money than I know what to do with right now. So I don't really care about money, but I actually enjoy teaching. So it'd be kind of cool to be in a situation where I could do something that I love, where I don't have to do it. Because anytime you have to do something, you don't enjoy it as much as you should. And the other thing I was thinking about was a charity, and these are both so idealistic. I hope that I do them. I would like to think that I do, but we'll see. I know that there's charities in like Central America, South America, something like that. I want to grow my YouTube channel too, and I also want to start talking about like more kind of like cool or inspiring things instead of having everything be about money all the time. Because I've gotten to the point now where I definitely have the freedom that I wanted, and any kind of money past this point isn't really going to make a huge difference on my lifestyle. There's actually a study on this. It's probably going to be unpopular for your audience, but there's a study on this where they showed that your happiness goes up in proportion to the money that you make up until $75,000. And then once you reach $75,000 and above, the money that you make doesn't have an impact on your happiness anymore, but giving back does. So it's kind of like, I feel like I've gotten to the point where I'm making way more money than I need, and it's only going to go up. So now I want to look at what are the ways that I could actually give back and make a difference. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for the future. Anyways.
That's awesome. That's really cool, man. So, I want to talk a little bit about legacy, because I think that is an important part of really getting to know somebody and understanding what they're about. So, what do you want to leave behind as your legacy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, Tai Lopez, which is a lot of people like and dislike him, he's said before is like, you can find out what's important for your life, like what is your life purpose. He's like, let me ask you this question. Like, if you could have the best relationship ever in your life with one person, have all the happiness with them and go on adventures and have the best time, or you could make a huge difference on a massive amount of people, but you couldn't have that special, important kind of relationship, which one would you pick? And your answer, you have to, like, the weird thing about that question is you can have both. You don't need to pick one or the other, but if you were forced to pick one or the other, you can figure out what your main priority in life is. And I think it kind of depends. For a lot of entrepreneurs, I think they would want to have kind of the spotlight and want to have the influence and a massive amount of impact. I'm kind of the person where I want that, but my main priority is I want like a good relationship. I want a family. I want kids and stuff like that. So I think my main legacy, not right now, but when I get older is going to be raising my kids properly and, making a difference, hopefully. And yeah, I think that's kind of my priority. I actually don't have as much drive to be the kind of like big man on campus kind of thing. And a lot of people do. So it's just kind of like you have to figure out what's important for you and pull that off. There's nothing wrong with one or the other. You just have to figure out what's going to make you happy.
That's awesome. That is really cool. And I definitely think that you're spot on about, finding what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, if you're not happy, what are you doing it for, And, I also agree with you about family. I think family definitely comes first, at least in my life. So, I'm glad you said that. So, I want to ask you a few questions that are just a little bit on the lighter side. They'll kind of be a little bit quicker questions. But if you could go back to any time period, which time period would you go back to, and why?
So for your question, do you mean time period in my life or time period in human civilization?
Any time period in the history of the existence of space.
Oh my God. I think actually I would be in this time period right now, because people always like to idealize the past, but I think that people like to idealize the past without any of its flaws. So they say, oh, the Roman times were cool, but they were chopping off heads and they were fighting to the death, and people were in the Colosseum, and the family members, brothers, were killing each other for entertainment. So I actually think if you look back in history, it's never been safer. It's never been more civil. People have never been happier than they are right now. So I actually think that if I could pick any time period, I would pick today.
Cool. Very cool. If you could talk to any person, either past or present, who would you talk to and what would you talk about?
If I could talk to any person, past or present, oh, there's so many good ones. I mean, Tony Robbins would be pretty freaking cool. I know that. Seth Godin would be pretty freaking cool. I think I was a huge Christopher Hitchens fan, even though I'm not an atheist. I thought his way of speaking was really interesting and cool. I'd probably say Tony Robbins. I think it would be intense. It'd be an intense experience, but it'd be so cool.
Absolutely. So, if you could put together your perfect day, what would that look like?
My perfect day would actually be without the laptop would be gone. I actually love using the laptop. I love working on business, but those days where you just put it to the side and you just enjoy yourself, those can always be the most epic. I would have all of my main friends. I have my main travel partner, Lindsay Thurlaxon. We go all around the world together. I'd probably be with her and some of my other buddies and my family, and we would just be on a beach somewhere having cocktails.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So if you could be one animal besides a human, which animal would you be and why?
I think that I would be. I'd be a dolphin, actually, to be honest with you, because I would want. I like thinking. I know a lot of people don't like thinking, but dolphins are really smart beings, so I think that they're probably up to some cool stuff.
Very cool. So you mentioned that you did karaoke the other day, so I gotta ask, if you could choose one song to sing in front of 10 million people, what song would that be?
Oh man, Baby Got Back.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal, man. So, I do wanna thank you so much for jumping on the interview. It has been a ton of fun, and I hope you've had a good time as well. Just have one more question for you, man. Is there anything about yourself that you think is an important part of who you are that I did not ask you about today? In other words, what did I miss?
I don't know. I actually kind of think that I don't really. I feel like I'm a fairly transparent, straightforward person. So I'm trying to think of something. I would say as an internet marketer, it's important to know that for people to know that you care. So I actually care. I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Like, about the results that people get.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very important, and I'm glad you said that. So, Brendan, I do want to thank you again so much for coming on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure. And to everybody else who's listening, I want to thank you so much. Y'all are the reason that we do this, and if we can have a positive impact on your lives, then that'll be that'll be worth it for me. So thank you. Love y'all so much. We've been talking to Brennan Mace, and this has been another Project Egg interview. Let's build a better world together. Bye-bye.